Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another rules breakdown, and this time we're going to be looking at this Geto Ratz, which came out from Spider Eyes this year, 2025. Now, first of all, I've got a little furry tribble on my collar because my big old Yeti Nano microphone I've been using for the past 3-4 years has been messing me around for about half of that time. Either the sound has been way low or way too booming and cutting off peaks and being generally terrible. So I decided to indulge myself and get myself a wee lapel mic to see if that improves things. So please, in the comments below, let me know if my sound is better. Anyway, Geto Ratz is an indie game set in a post-apocalyptic future where you're living amongst the ruins of the old society as you try and move on. It's a diseased, corrupt world, and you are squabbling for every little bit. You're a post-apocalyptic survivor, and in playstyle it feels a lot like Shadowrun. Now, as usual in a rules breakdown, I'm going to need a sample character to use. So I found this one on page 259 of the rulebook, Exile, a level 16 fixer. Now, why did I choose her? Because she's the one pretty much at the back of the book, so it was easy for me to find, for no other reason than that. But anyway, let's go on and have a look through the rules of Geto Ratz. And so skills. Well, skills are dealt with on page 2. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the few introductory pages are numbered in Roman numerals. So we're going through various pages before we actually get maybe 20 or so pages before we get to page 2. Now, on page 2, we've got rolling. So you're rolling a d20. First of all, we've got primary skill checks. Rolled on a d20 with +1 for every point, you're basically going for a target number of 10. So our fixer here has book smarts of 6, reflexes of 4, street smarts of 2, weapons handling of 2, and personality of 2. Now that's not all the skills in the game, that's just the ones she's got. And let's say she's rolling on her personality, she's trying to charm somebody. So the standard target number is 10, we roll a d20, she gets a 12, plus her personality of 2, so that's 14, so she succeeds. However, we've got tension tables here. Target number is usually 10, but if you want something to be easy, we've got a suggested of 5, 10 for standard difficulty, 15 for challenging, 20 for extremely difficult. Now, we've also got secondary skill checks. We only get a +1 for every 2 points. And we've got contested skill checks, where you are rolling against each other, adding your bonuses, and whoever gets higher, even if it's below the target number of 10, succeeds and beats the other one. And finally, we've got assisted skill checks, which I have to admit, I really like this rule. If you're being helped by somebody else, not only do you get a bonus to your skill of +1 for every person that's helping, but you also get to re-roll. Because there's 2 of you working on something, you get to re-roll the dice if you don't like what the first one comes up to. You don't have to re-roll, but it's up to you. And as I said, you get +1 for every person that's helping out in the task. So if 5 of you are trying to fix a vehicle, for example, you're getting a +5 on the bonus. Or sorry, if 5 of you are helping, you get a +4 because the first person doesn't give a bonus, they just get their own skill. So the best person at the roll will probably be the one who needs to make the roll, because they get the biggest bonus, then the +4 on top of that. And initiative, well, it's dealt with on page 53 of the rules. And basically, who initiates the combat goes first. Except you're basing how often you go on your drive attribute. So your drive is determined by rolling a d6 and adding +1 equal to your secondary speed skill. Well, we look at this character and they do not have the speed skill. So they're just going to be getting a d6. So clear that, d6, throw, get a 5. So they're going to be getting 5 actions. Now, if they started the combat, they'll be going first. If they didn't, then they'll be going second. However, you also go backwards and forwards between your groups. Whichever party initiates the combat gets to take the first turn. If both parties initiate combat simultaneously, roll a showdown to see who goes first. So, when you make an attack, you're using up some of your drive. And a couple of pages on, we've got combat actions. So we've got standard combat actions. Spend drive equal to the attack speed of the weapon or ability. So depending on how fast your weapon goes, it will take less. So you'll be able to attack more often. But we've also got like sweeping strike, where you can strike multiple targets equal to the weapon's reach +1. Dealing half damage to all targets, but it requires ×2 drive cost. So you won't be able to attack as often. Now, in the initiative system, it says that there are two ways of dealing with this. That you can put all your heavy attacks up first and go through your drive very quickly, or you can keep some back until your opponents have run out of drive. So that's up to you. There's some tactics involved in how you use up your actions, whether you go quick actions at the start or whether you use heavy attacks using up lots of drive first. And so attacking. Well, attacking's from age 55 and onwards. So we have a few different combat actions we can take. We're going to be dealing with a base one. We have different options, including things like defending, where you take half damage from the incoming attack. You can be doing counter attacks, taking cover. You can be dodging, roll your speed or muscle to beat the accuracy of the incoming melee attack. On a success, avoid all damage. And it just uses one drive. You can reload weapons, etc. But a standard attack, you're going to be spending drive equal to the AS speed of the weapon. So we say that they're using their hand cannon. We can see their attack speed is 3. So they're going to be using up 3 of their 5. If they want to shoot twice, they can do. We can see here that exhausting drive. Sometimes an action may require more drive than you have. Spending more drive than you have is called exhausting or bankrupting. When exhausting drive, complete the action as you normally would, then subtract your condition by 1. You can only exhaust if you have at least 1 drive. So it doesn't matter if your drive comes out to an odd amount. You can be taking some damage to do an extra attack anyway. Anyway, so we're going to be rolling a d20 and hitting on a 10 or higher. Looking at the hand cannon, it has 6 dice plus 2 damage, but it has no bonus to hit. So we're just going to be rolling a d20. The character has weapons handling of 2, so we're adding 2, and we need to beat a 10, so 8 or higher will do. They get a 19, so they get 21, so they hit. And damage. Well, damage is dealt with on page 55 as well. Damage is rolled by taking the weapon's damage dice, adding the weapon character's damage bonuses, and subtracting from the enemy's armor. So we have a look at their weapon. They were using the hand cannon, which does 66 plus 2 damage. So 66 plus 2, we get 21, 23 points of damage. That means we do 23 points to their condition monitor, but we also do 2 points of trauma damage, 1 point for every full 10 points of damage we do. We'll come on to that in health in a moment. Now, armor, if we go on a couple of pages, is hard armor or soft armor. Hard armor has a certain amount of hit points, which it absorbs first. Once the total hit points are depleted, the armor breaks. Every 10 points of hard armor takes up 2 points of inventory space and costs an average of $20 per point. Or soft armor, which every incoming attack subtracts the durability by 1, and the armor is divided by 2. Soft armor doesn't prevent all incoming damage. It can be very useful depending on the situation. And further on, we've got penetration. Any weapon which has penetration bonus deals ×2 bonus against armor. So it will destroy hard armor much faster or create larger amounts of damage to overwhelm soft armor. And so health. Well, health is dealt with on page 47. So first of all, we've got blood, the standard measurement of your character's health. Start of the game, base blood for all characters is 30. Blood can be temporarily increased using certain items or restored using medicine, can be permanently increased with perks by purchasing points in the bulk stat, or possibly by very powerful item. If your character's blood hits 0 or lower, they become dropped. All incoming damage is subtracted from the character's blood. So they took 23 points of damage. Exile, even though they're a level 16 fixer, still only has 30 points of blood. So they've gone through most of that. They took 2 points of trauma as well. They've got 8 there, so they haven't gone through all their trauma. If a character loses 10 blood at once, they take a point of trauma. Trauma represents a character taking a serious injury, such as broken bone or punctured organ. For every point of trauma, player takes a -1 to all skill checks as a result of pain. So they've taken 2 points, so they're at a -2 already, just with one large attack. So when their blood goes to 0, they collapse. For every point of trauma left untreated, lose d6 blood points when resting. So if the character remains wounded and then goes to rest, this character is going to be losing 2d6 unless they're healed up. So they're probably going to want to carry on going until they can get some kind of treatment at all. So, advancement. Well, Geto Ratz uses a type of experience points called Sin, dealt with here on page 3. Sin allows you to increase a character's stats, purchase valuable perks, or get rid of pesky flaws. But one of the points about Sin is it's not just awarded for what you do in the adventure, it's the way you spin that afterwards. Tall tales, rumors in the zone spread faster than pink fever. Most Geto Rats earn their sin as word gets around as their actions. The dirtier the deed, the steadier the sin. So not only can your character take part in a big battle where he takes down 20 people, if your character didn't take part in that battle, if they're really, really good at spreading stories, they can get experience for spreading the story of how they set it all up. They were vital to this combat, which will gain them extra sin. If you handle your experience awards the way I tend to in my group, where everybody gets the same, that means the players who are really good at telling stories can spin it for the entire group. So you've got your combat characters who will earn all the experience, but the other characters who will enhance that by boosting up the story and making it sound far more triumphant. Another feature is bloodline points. For every 5 levels your Geto Rat has upon their death, incarceration, or retirement, they gain +1 bloodline point. This can be spent on future characters. So as you enhance your character, they go up levels, but that earns bloodline points for future characters. Because Geto Ratz expects there to be a certain amount of churn in your characters. So people will die, people will get incarcerated, they will leave play. But when you're making your next character, you've got an automatic boost from your old character. Very nice thing indeed. And going on to page 6 and 7, we've got increasing your stats, where cost of first 2 points in any stat is 1 point each. After that increases by +1 sin every 2 points. So looking at our character, we can see that all of them are going to be increasing to 3. So it'll be 2 points for each extra point. So to increase personality, weapons handling, or street smarts to 3 will cost 2 points. Because reflex is at 4, it will cost 3 points to increase it up to 5. And book smarts is way up at 6, which means it will cost 4 points to increase it to 7. And further on, we've got perks and flaws, and it explains that you can spend experience buying off flaws. So problems your character was created with when you created them, they can be getting rid of, or they can be buying new perks as well. So you can be enhancing your character, not just by increasing their stats, but also by buying new perks, so they can be a far more interesting and flexible character. So that is Geto Ratz. Some lovely rules in there. The experience rules, the sin rules rather, obviously I've raved about at length there. I really, really like the way that's handled, enhancing role-playing even after the session's kind of over. But there's lots of other nice little tweaks in there, rules I've not seen in different systems before, and I really, really like them. It looks like it could be a game with a high fatality rate. Obviously, there's no way to judge from just that sample fight I just did whether it's all going to be as dangerous as that. But it could, with only 30 hit points on a starting character, easily be fatal to characters, to churn through your characters. But obviously, they've built in rules about that as well. It's very well thought out, and it's a really nice background. Anyway, as usual, I think I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.